Honestly, when I was doing research on this topic, I was getting, like, so grieved that I was in tears. Like, righteous anger almost. Like, I thought honestly I may cry for this video. I don't know. I may still, you don't know. I don't know.
Then I guess I don't know either. But apparently, from what I understand, you're going to be complaining about the presence of bisexual people in a cartoon show. So, let's roll the intro. How's it going, everybody? If you're new here, run away. There is only pain here. No, actually, I'm kidding. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, all that other fun stuff. All that really helps me, and I don't really have a compelling argument as to why this would help you, because really the only thing that exists on this channel is suffering, mayhem, and nonsense. Before we get into the video proper, though, I do have two announcements to make. First announcement is that Jack and Quill, the artist behind this avatar on the channel here, that you guys have seen repeatedly over the last few months, had his car break down recently and is in desperate need of funding to get the car repaired. If you would like to help out with that, then there's a link in the description down below. The second thing is that if you want a chance to hang out and do anything like that, Hammered Out, the podcast, has moved to Tuesdays, and in its place on Thursdays, we will be doing video game hangouts over on this channel, where we will be able to play League of Legends as groups. So if you want to play games with me, that is a chance to do so. I will not just be playing games and having people watch. You guys will actively be rotated into games if you so choose. We had the first round of that last week, and it was really fun, so hopefully we'll be able to do it again. The fan art section on this channel is usually made in order to show support for the fans who do throw art at the channel, so in lieu of the fan art section, I would like to reiterate, if you guys do have the ability to help Jack and Quill, who is an artist that helps out this channel a lot, then please do so. Check the description down below for that link, and let's get right into today's video.
But we're talking about the show called The Owl House on Disney Channel. It's a new TV show.
Owl House, huh? Okay, let me go ahead and do a little bit of research. According to the Wikipedia entry that I'm going to professionally read, Luz Nokeda, I'm definitely pronouncing that incorrectly, is a teenage human girl who accidentally stumbles upon a portal to another world instead of going to a reality check camp, a juvenile detention summer camp located in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. When on the Boiling Isles, which is made from the remains of a dead titan, she befriends the rebellious Witch Ada the Owl Lady and her adorable demon roommate named King. Despite not having magical abilities, Liz pursues her dream of becoming a witch by serving as Ada's apprentice at the Owl House and ultimately finds a new family in an unlikely setting. Okay, so this is basically an isekai anime. Let's go ahead and see what the issues are.
It is a show that has basically made what they call history because it features Disney's first bisexual character, and it is a cartoon show. Sorry, buddy. And it is for kids.
Okay, so a cartoon show with a bisexual main character. Let's ignore the fact that Legend of Korra exists, and basically had that as well, but that really was only revealed in the final episode. I'm curious as to what the actual issue is going to be, considering the fact that TV shows have had heterosexual couples get into relationships for literal decades. I don't see why having a bisexual relationship, even if that is shown on screen, could be an issue.
If you believe the Bible to be absolute truth, like absolute truth, if you are a born-again believer, you must know that any relationship other than a relationship between a man and a woman is unbiblical, and in God's eyes, it is sinful.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Are the characters in the cartoon Christian? Are the animators Christian? Are the story writers Christian? Because I'm fairly certain that none of them should have to care about your personal religion. Within the context of the fictional universe, nobody in that relationship is going to hell. I'm pretty sure that even if some of the animators and staff are Christian, they at least know how to separate their fictional creation they're working on right now with any religious beliefs they happen to have to begin with.
That is from a believer talking to a believer.
Yeah, I'm not one of those things.
You should know, if you study the Bible, that it is against God's will, God's plan for biblical marriage.
Well, then that brings up another question. Do any characters even get married? Because if the Bible says that they don't want girls and girls or guys and guys getting married, Who the fuck cares? They can just have a relationship that isn't marriage. Also, if we're talking about biblical exegesis, studying the Bible, there are some holes in your theory already anyway. Like the fact that many of the passages that are referenced for people who are homophobic in Leviticus happen to equally translate out to homophobia or arguments about pedastry. This is because in the proper context, they can mean arguments against homosexuality and saying to stone people who are homosexual, but they can also be arguments against pedastry. This is because some of the language that was used back then said things like if a man lies with a male, but a male meant a young man, or in fact a child or a teenager. This would be an argument against pedastry, not an argument against homosexuality. And since any passage in the New Testament, written by Paul or otherwise, that deals with homosexuality is specifically informed by those passages in the Old Testament, then any connotation we find from those passages that might not mean homosexuality would carry over into the New Testament as well. In order to figure out what the original authors meant 100%, we would need a time machine. Unfortunately, we're left in a scenario where we have at least 3 or 4 different translations that could be true. Either passages in Leviticus are about homosexuality, they're about pedastry, or they are about cheating on somebody's wife, i.e. using the bed of your wife to sleep with your lover, who happens to be male, as if you would your wife, an argument against cheating, though gender-specific. These are all arguments I've reiterated in the past, especially in the video I did on Alan Parr, which I'll be linking in the description below. But the fact of the matter is, you could be a Christian and not be a bigot.
Okay? So, I just want to get that out of the way. You have to know that any other type of relationship besides a marriage between a man and a woman is wrong. So, for example, homosexuality is a sin in God's eyes. Pedophilia, bestiality, it's all not God's plan, not what God wanted, not what God intended.
Don't you just love when homophobic Christians argue against homosexuality, and their method of doing so is to group it in with things like pedophilia and bestiality? Don't you think that's a little weird that they have to resort to such extremes? Let me go ahead and let you know the problem with these comparisons. With homosexuality, you have a consenting relationship between 2 adults, whereas with bestiality and pedophilia, there is no possible way to get consent. Informed consent, enthusiastic consent, or any other form cannot be granted in those relationships, if you can even call them relationships and not just abuses of power dynamics. Functionally, a homosexual relationship operates identically to a heterosexual relationship, with the exception of the parts, assuming that the partners are not ace.
And the farther we get away from God's plan and purpose, the more corrupt our world is.
Okay, can we start talking about the cartoon instead of your deranged conspiracy theories about how the world is going to be corrupt just because 2 men love each other?
What else is wrong biblically, which we're going to be talking about this, is witchcraft. Witchcraft is an abomination in the eyes of the Lord, and the Bible talks about... The dog is going away. The Bible talks about those who practice witchcraft will not inherit the kingdom of heaven.
I mean, yeah, the Bible does say that, but that doesn't really matter. Again, these are fictional characters we're talking about here. The fictional characters in the cartoon are not trying to get to heaven, nor are they trying to get to hell. They have their own personal journey that exists in the fictional world.
God does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore.
Okay, good, so I can still call him a murderous baby killer because of all the people he killed who were actually innocent in the flood. Got it. I was worried that he might have actually gone through a character arc or something at some point, and I was going to have to treat him more like Vegeta, where even though he committed genocide before, he's a pretty good guy now. But if he doesn't change, then not only is he poorly written, then I don't actually have to forgive him for shit.
A girl named Dana Terrace has created the show alongside Disney about a bisexual character, a bisexual lead character, who becomes a witch's apprentice. Here's what Dana had to say. I think she posted this on Twitter. So she said, I was very open about my intention to put queer kids in the main cast. I'm a horrible liar, so sneaking it in would have been hard, she says in her tweet. Yes, so it was in her tweets. I was told by certain Disney leadership that I could not represent my form of bi or gay relationship on the channel. Terrace, she identifies herself as a bisexual, so she is a bisexual herself. She wanted to write about a bisexual character, so she really pushed Disney to allow the character. Luckily, my stubbornness paid off. This is her talking again. And now I am very supported by current Disney leadership, she said. Terrace has gotten lots of positive feedback from viewers. Many are thanking her for representing the LGBTQ plus community and wishing they had a show like The Owl House when they were children, which is exactly the opposite of what we need.
Actually, no. Representation in TV shows, especially shows that are being showed to people in their formative years, has been shown to have a positive effect on people in minority groups who otherwise feel alienated because they cannot project themselves properly to the character they see on screen. More importantly than that, though, why wouldn't we need a show like this? There's plenty of heterosexual representation. Why can we not have representation of other sexualities, as long as they are valid and are not harmful? And the only harm you can even claim comes from homosexuality is being ostracized by your peers, which is not your fault, that is the fault of your peers, and a fictional harm you can say is going to come to us because of your Bible. But it really doesn't matter that your Bible says a harm is going to come from us, because you can't demonstrate that harm. You can't demonstrate that hell exists. You can't demonstrate that heaven exists. So you can't demonstrate your carrot. You can't demonstrate your stick. So there's no reason for anybody to take you seriously when you say, don't be gay, you're going to burn. Also, are you working under the delusion that people can actually choose their sexual orientation? Because those things end up getting formed very early on in our childhoods when we don't have any volition whatsoever. Sexual orientation is a lot of things to a lot of people, but the one thing it's not is a choice.
So this show has literally like witchcraft and bisexuality and rebelliousness, and my thought is like, you can't battle demons without Jesus, so that's just what I'm saying.
This is like saying you can't battle All For One in My Hero Academia without Goku, who exists in Dragon Ball Z. You're mixing up your fictional universes. If the fictional universe of Owl Family has demons and they can be battled without Jesus, then you don't need to bring in Jesus, because your idea of the internal logic of this world doesn't have any sway over the internal logic of a different fictional world.
So this is very grieving to me. Like, I found out about this and literally I was so grieved. So basically, Dana Terrace is the creator of the show alongside Disney, and I looked up her Twitter and I just had tears in my eyes because it was very grieving. I feel like there's a grammatical error there, but if the only things you found on her Twitter was that she said that people were supportive of her work and that she wanted to represent a character in her show that was like her, I don't see the actual problem, given that her sexuality doesn't have any harm. Again, even if you try to argue from the internal logic of the Bible, that logic, through exegesis, doesn't necessarily lead us to homophobia. It can, if you take the bigoted interpretation, but there's nothing saying you have to be a bigot. Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying you must be a homophobe. You made that choice for you. You decided to be a lesser individual because you have a book you like. Typically, we only encounter these issues with fans of Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey, but here we are. Dana Terrace tweeted on August 9th of 2020, "Anyway, be gay, do witchcraft."
Okay, that'd be no different than if you said be straight, do Christianity.
She literally said, be gay and do witchcraft. And this is a creator of a show, a cartoon show for kids.
This is literally just a variation of the be gay, do crimes meme. Do you not understand a joke? Are you that sheltered from the culture around you?
We are so scared to stand up against things like this, and we don't pray as much as we should, and we don't fast as much as we should.
You know, we've actually done studies on prayer and shown that it doesn't really do a whole lot. And you know that fasting, while something that I need to do because I'm morbidly obese, isn't actually going to do anything to change the world. Like seriously, please show me a demonstration that you fasting does literally anything in reality. Please, go ahead. I'll wait.
And when you scroll through her Twitter, you just see a lot of like demonic looking images, lots of stuff about witchcraft and like bisexuality. Literally just like these twisted images is what I'm seeing on here, and I'm not going to show you guys them, but in my opinion, this is not the kind of person that should be making a kid's show.
Right, because your audience is going to believe everything you say without actually showing any evidence on screen. Okay. Now, I know technically it's argumentum ad populum, but usually when I see bad arguments like this, I expect the person to be ratioed. Ooh, that's not good. 1.1k likes and 3.2k dislikes? Ouch.
You know, Dana, if you happen to watch this, I love you, girl.
No, you don't. Being a bigot is evidence of that.
And I honestly am doing this to expose the show and to tell parents to be careful. Like, don't let your kids watch this show, or maybe not even Disney Channel in general.
So, I'm a socialist. I have my own problems with Disney. Most of it being the fact that it's a conglomerate organization that happens to engage in some incredibly predatory capitalistic behavior, so I'm not going to say I'm an advocate for Disney on those grounds. However, if we're talking about just the ability to put out shows for kids, there's still nothing wrong here. If your kid happens to see a show on Disney that just happens to have a bisexual main character, so what? And, by the way, if you don't like Witchcraft, I have some really bad news for you. Disney's been built on that for decades. Seriously, Disney's been doing the magic and sorcery angle for years. This is not new. The bisexuality thing might be, but that's actually a good thing. You see, representation is a good thing. Not only does it help insofar as you're able to project yourself onto a character better in certain situations, it also helps in situations like being a kid growing up and learning that you are bisexual and trying to come to terms with that and trying to understand that. Because again, you don't actually have a choice in the matter here. And instead of having to explain to your parents or explain to your friends, hey, I think I might like women and men, I don't know, it's a whole lot easier to just go, hey, you remember this character on this show that we used to watch? Yeah, I'm like them. That's super easy and super simple and incredibly good shorthand, and by having a character that's relatable, you end up identifying with that struggle more, and you feel less like you're in isolation, less like you're alone.
When I was younger, my dad had me stop watching Disney Channel because, you know, he would watch some of the shows with me sometimes, and a lot of the kids are very rebellious. Like, rebellion is literally a form of witchcraft.
Gigi, I need help dealing with this shit. This is too much. But what I didn't record is the part where she ended up leaving because not even she wants to deal with this. Even a cat thinks that's stupid. Like, seriously, what rebellion is witchcraft? Simply not liking what your parents have told you to do, which in some cases could even be immoral, is witchcraft? Do you not know what witchcraft is? I know witches. They can tell you. They can teach you. If you desperately want to avoid a thing, I can get you people who are experts on the thing so that you can learn to avoid it better if that's what you so need. If your definition of that thing you don't like is so loose that it could be applied to anything, then it's completely and totally useless. This is like everything I don't like is communism.
So, you know, when you are putting rebellion in a show for kids and witchcraft and bisexuality, like, do you know how evil that is? Them introducing this whole drag queen story hour to little children, that just introduces just like evil and gender dysphoria at such a young age. Like, what? It's so evil, it's so twisted. You know, gender dysphoria is of the enemy. It truly is, you know? It's of the enemy. Rebuke that in the name of Jesus. Don't mess with that. It's so sad. Like, they're even doing drag queen story hours for little kids. Even like the...
Okay, you know that gender dysphoria is a thing that people suffer from with or without drag queen story hour, right? and that Drag Queen Story Hour doesn't correlate with people experiencing dysphoria. There's literally no data on this happening. Moreover, yeah, I can agree, gender dysphoria is the enemy. If anybody in my chat suffers from dysphoria, I am sorry. But you know what you do to help with gender dysphoria? You usually go seek some kind of help and get medication or therapy or any number of things to help you deal with your dysphoria. Because dysphoria is natural, and there are ways of dealing with it. Like, seriously, studies have shown that one of the best ways to deal with gender dysphoria? Transitioning. But I'm sure that the idea of doing a thing that can medically help you when you are suffering from an illness is against your religion or some shit.
God is merciful. God has given us so much grace. Do you know how much grace God has poured out on us that is so undeserving?
Your God is grace, so much grace that he created hell, and muscular dystrophy, and AIDS, and cancer, especially cancer in children, and parasites that infect your eyes and make them bubble out and blow up, and parasites that go into your rectum and eat your insides. And he created human beings with all the myriad of totally not cruel things human beings have done to each other, that through the principle of entailment are your God's fault, because your God is omniscient and knew the end results of all of his actions. He has so much grace, so much grace. Okay, that's about as much of this video as I can stand. There's still a little more of it. I'll drop it in the description below if you guys desperately want to watch, but I'm tired. And this isn't like I'm not tired in the mental health kind of way where like, oh my god, I've just dealt with so much. Oh no. No, I'm actually being put to sleep. This video is boring. The presenter is a bigot, and they literally compare homosexuality to things like pedophilia and bestiality, and just think that a children's cartoon showing representation is the most horrible thing in the world. I don't know how much more I can even talk about this. I've given the commentary that I can, and I'm honestly sick to my stomach. This person sickens me. And I think that most of this is born of ignorance, honestly. Like, this is a person who potentially could become a very good and very productive individual, but instead they're focusing their energy into their religion, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, except when it comes at the cost of others. And right now, it is definitely coming at the cost of others. You can be a Christian and not be a bigot. It's not very difficult to. You can be a better person. Like, I know I've been sarcastic, and I know I've poked fun, Hannah, if you end up watching this video, but honestly, I've been in your shoes. I grew up as a young earth creationist in a fundamentalist Christian household. I grew up in a private school that was incredibly bigoted and taught me how to be bigoted, and I carried that with me when I went into the real world. Hannah, you don't have to be like this. You really don't. I have several Christian friends who are not bigots and can explain to you how they manage to reconcile their Christianity without being bigoted. It's not a very difficult thing to do as long as you've got a grasp on the basics. But that all said, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. Please share it with your friends. Hell, share it with Hannah if you happen to know her or want to send it her way. You do that if you want to. That is all on you. But that all said, it is near the end of the video. I do want to remind you guys, though, that we do have the PayPal link down below for Jack and Quill. I know that we've spent 20 minutes in the hellscape that is this video, but I want to pull us back to reality, and the reality where an incredibly helpful artist for the channel is currently without a vehicle. So if you want to help with that, and you can help with that, then please go down below, check out the PayPal link, and if you can help out, that would be awesome. If you can't help out, then maybe share that PayPal link out and help this video out as well, because it has the PayPal link attached to it. So if you guys can do that, that would be incredibly awesome. If you guys are free on Thursdays, then I look forward to gaming with all of you, or at least those of you who can tolerate me when I'm playing a game that I have a very unhealthy addiction to. If you are at the end of this video, if you're at this point, then you are at the Patreon slides. These are the people who let this channel be what it is and do what I do. So thank you very much for all of these patrons, and hopefully you guys have a chance to thank them as well. If you see any of these people pop up in the comment section below, please give them a like, please give them a thank you. They deserve it for all the help they give me for helping this channel. If you like my content, then these are the primary benefactors of that content. So That all said, I do hope you all are going to have a wonderful day. I know it's Monday. Mondays really, really suck. But regardless, as always, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Insert end of video tagline here.